My name is Ariane. I'm a healer, intuitive trauma coach, and a spiritual teacher. In this video, I share with you the Q&A section of my online workshops that I host. If you would like to be involved in the online workshops, make sure to follow me on social media, as that's the place I'll be announcing the dates for all upcoming workshops. These are completely free workshops, and it allows you to ask me any questions you have about your own journey. The question is, how can you break the habitual habit of talking to yourself in a low way for so many years? So in order to break the habit of our self-talk, it requires us to understand why it's there. A lot of information we hear out there is, well, you shouldn't talk to yourself like this. You need to start talking to yourself like this. But what we tend to do in those moments is we instantly, because we've been told and because we've recognized that I shouldn't talk to myself like this, and I want to change how I talk, without my curiosity of understanding why I talk to myself like this, what happens is I'm making the talking to myself like this wrong. And by making it wrong, I'm pushing the part of myself that is talking to myself like this away. And unfortunately, that just continues that self-talk. I've got a video where I describe that there is no such thing as self-sabotage. Someone might look at this behavior and go, well, that's sabotaging behavior. The way you talk to yourself is extremely sabotaging behavior. And you shouldn't talk to yourself like that. But the only reason that anyone has any sort of self-talk that would go towards self-hate or talking to yourself in a negative way is because it's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior from an experience that we've had. That self-talk is because others have talked to me in that way. So I adopt the same way that I've been spoken to in order to stop that happening in the external world. So for example, I always give the example of maybe dancing. As a child, I will go in the middle of the room and I will dance in front of the people around me, my social circle, my family, and I might get shamed in that moment. So as I dance, either my caregiver or my sibling or a cousin or someone will shame me and they go, what are you doing? Like, that looks stupid. Like, why are you doing that? You look like an idiot. And in that moment, I have shame and I'm feeling that shame. And that's emotional distress without resolution, which is what trauma is. So I've experienced that trauma and it's based in shame. Now, a part of me learns to keep me safe. And the way it learns to keep me safe is by not allowing me to put myself back in a position where I have experienced that shame. So next time I may have a desire to dance again. And a part of me has learned dancing in front of these people is extremely dangerous. Dancing in front of people is dangerous. So the part of me stops me from dancing by saying the same thing that was said to me. So this part of me goes, no, don't do that. You look like an idiot. You're going to look ridiculous. You look stupid. Now that part of me is protecting me by not allowing me to go and put myself in that environment again. Now, this could be an unconscious pattern or habit, a habitual way of talking to myself that continues on throughout my life. And as an adult, there might be a dance floor or I might just want to dance, but that programming is still there. No, don't do that. You're going to look stupid. You're going to look like an idiot. Don't do that. So I don't do it. It's a learned behavior. The way you break out of a habitual way of talking to yourself is understanding where it came from. Why are you talking to yourself like that? Where did that come from? And the way we do that most of the time is by feeling the emotions that these parts of us are feeling. If I can feel why this part of me feels the way it does, then the rest of the communication of where this came from will come as well. Understanding where it originated from, even who is it that said these things to me? Who did I learn this behavior, this way of talking to myself from? and then giving that part of myself the love that it's looking for, the acceptance that it's looking for. Even saying to this part of myself, thank you for keeping us safe up until now. But, you know, we don't need to do that anymore. We're in a different place. It's safer now. I can provide that safety for you. Going down that path to understanding. Again, we're raising the awareness of the self. The self is the one that has learned this behavior. And because of that, I need to become aware where this behavior came from, which is how I can start changing this habitual way of talking to myself. I hope that answered the question. I am going to go for one of the hands up. Is it, I can't, the text is so small. Is it Marshek? I'm not sure how to say her name.
No worries, it's Marsha Cartali.
Marsha, lovely to meet you. Welcome.
Likewise, thank you for having me, and I appreciate this meetup. You know, my daughter and I, we were having this conversation earlier, and she's 15, and I'm very appreciative of how mature she is about this subject. But one of my questions, because we always talk about we attract these types of people into our life, and I understand that what is happening in our world is like a feedback to us about ourselves, or it's a reflection of who we are on the inside. Mm-hmm. But I kind of battle with that idea because I'm like, look, I assess myself, I evaluate myself. I'm a person with a good heart and great energy. Why do I keep having these people come into my space? But there's something that you just said too, that we touched on earlier, is this idea of that younger version of you, that little person in you that either felt unsafe or insecure or whatever, who is still looking for that protection or that guidance, or where they felt abandoned. And if we don't pay attention to that, it's that, I think, that energy, it's like an antenna that's signaling. That when you said that, I think I answered my question, but I still wanted to ask the question, like,
that's fine.
How is it that you attract a certain type of people into your space, even though you truly feel like, I've done the work to be a better person, different person? How comes these types of people are still coming into my space?
I understand, and that's a very good question. We don't know what we don't know. When we go through experiences, and the work on yourself that you're doing is the work that is the parts of you that have fragmented through the traumatic experiences that we've had. So the work that I do is bringing those parts of myself in. But they are in what we call the human shadow. And the human shadow is the part of ourselves that we are unconscious of. So I am completely unconscious of these parts of myself. You don't know what you don't know. So I don't know the parts of myself that still need to be brought to the light of my awareness. So more often than not, it's very easy to get drawn to a place of thinking, well, I've worked on myself. You know, I should be, like, I've done loads. But first of all, there's something there to be kind of like questioned as well. Like, why am I this is not to suggest that it's wrong, but this is all exploratory reasons, and it's to understand the self better. Why am I saying that to myself? Why am I like, well, I've done it. It shouldn't be like this. Like, what is that? What is there as well? As well as that is, once you start fully understanding this entire system being, you realize that the way that we get to these parts of ourselves is that feedback. It's how I feel emotionally. My emotions are a guidance system. When I feel emotions like the lower vibrational ones, apathy, guilt, shame, fear, jealousy, all of the lower vibrational ones, it's my guidance system's way of saying, hey, you're out of alignment of your natural healthy state. this is a part of you that's feeling this emotion that is causing you to be out of alignment of that state. So the feedback is the emotion. So if I feel anger, if I feel fear, it's all a continuous feedback. So how do I get to the parts of myself that I am unconscious of? How do I bring them to the light of my awareness? It's through the emotion that I feel in the triggers that I have in my life. So once I start regularly going towards these triggers, then I start becoming more and more aware. So yeah, it's not, it can get, obviously it's a challenging journey and it can get frustrating, but there are also tests as well. So you can also do work on yourself, but then you're like, hang on, I've done so much work, I'm still attracting the same type of person. Sometimes it's because you're being tested. Well, the universe is going, all right, let me see if you're still okay with a person treating you like this. Let's see how that goes. So on the journey of doing the work as well, recognize that, okay, well, now that I've done the work, am I going to stick to my guns of what I'm learning? Am I going to start respecting my own needs more? Am I going to start respecting what I want more? And that might mean that I say no to dating a specific person or the new person that's in my life, because I'm learning, no, this is not okay for me. I hope that answered the question. Oh, where have you gone? Did she go?
No, I'm right here. Oh, you can't see me anymore
I
because I lowered my hands, but
Okay.
that did answer the question.
Fantastic.
And sometimes you're right. It's a test. Did you graduate from the last time? Did you graduate? So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. I'm going to go to the next person with a hand up. I know if people are messaging, and I will go to the messages as well. I'm going to go in between. So next one is Karina. Hi, Karina.
Hi.
Hi. What I'll start doing is I'll start spotlighting everyone that's talking as well, so everyone can see. There you go. Hi, Karina. How are you?
Hello, everyone. So nice to see you again, Ariane. You see our paths crossed again.
Absolutely.
First of all, I am extremely grateful for meeting you. And, well, I am going to share a little bit of my journey with everyone here because I think it's important. I can speak now, which is amazing. So my healing journey started with a traumatic event. And the first thing I did then, I started reading and I intellectualized everything until I met Ariane. And something clicked when I heard shadow work. What is shadow work and what does it do? And everything made sense then. And you were talking then about awareness, and I was kind of aware about what does it mean in some way, but it didn't make sense much until I started doing the exercise from the Mind Matters group, the awareness week, which was amazing, and then everything started to piece together. And afterwards, everything started, and I actually was at some point when I asked myself, why am I attracting the same people over and over again? Because I am doing the work. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago when I experienced my first ego death that I realized that I am working, yes, but I was not getting it. I was still unconscious in some parts of myself. And the resistance was my ego. Yeah. And afterwards, everything, I don't know, it was like after my ego death, everything was like the light at the end of the tunnel was started to shine. And I started journaling. I started pouring down every single emotion I am feeling. For the first time in so many years, I am feeling, and I have suppressed so many emotions that for my entire life until now, the only feeling I was comfortable was pain. And that was because that's all I knew from the beginning of ever since I could remember. And that was because that was my childhood. So the awareness, the state of awareness that I had at that point was, you got to reparent yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to forgive your parents because that's all they did and all they knew. They didn't know more. Accept everything for who they are and just reparent yourself. And that's when it hit me that everything happened just the way it was supposed to happen, because it's like a computer, like running a program, and every program is added and added and added, and the trauma was the crash of the computer. And what do you do when a system crashes? You reboot and recode everything that is there, but this time you're gonna do a different coding because you want it to work.
You can redo it, yeah. No, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
I am working on integration,
mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, my child self does not want to share the memories. But I don't know if she doesn't want to share the memories as much as they are like fragmented, because gaslighting was in my family, in my environment for ever since I could remember. And I think my memories are distorted, they're fragmented. I can't go through the imagination there. So how do I use the feelings and only the feelings for integrations when the memories don't come through the imagination?
I understand. Obviously, there are unique instances. If this was a kind of one-to-one session, we could talk about it and go deeper and understand it. But mainly the challenges that you come up with, one of them can be you've not felt the emotion as much as you need to yet. So
okay, that makes sense.
It might require you to need to sit with it longer, however long it takes.
I know.
Another instance could be that this part of you just needs you to be there. Nothing like we do, like we talk about it. It's like, oh, I'm going to go heal this part of myself. I'm going to do a healing session. And that kind of puts this kind of like check mark, like, oh, I've checked, I've healed this part and this part and this part. It kind of makes us look at it as like, these are things to do. And if I'm looking at these parts of myself as things to do, I'm not actually doing what they need, which is just to be there for them. Because we have that,
it makes so much sense.
Yeah, because we have that unconscious kind of like, right now I'm going to do this and do this. They're not getting the compassion from us. We're looking at them as something I need to, once I do this, then I'm going to feel better. And this part of me is like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus. I had an experience where I learned that the hard way. There was this part of me that, through a state of imagination, turned into a hand and went like that to me. And I was like, yo, like, what are you doing? And this part of me was like, no, you're not, like, I'm not having any of it. And I learned that, like, no, I just need to be there for them, because we do put this term of, well, I'm going to go heal them. It's like, we're not actually healing them. We're being there for these parts of ourselves. And the outcome of being there is healing. So,
yeah, it makes sense now. The resistance is the check mark.
The resistance.
The need. Yeah, the resistance is the need to have a check mark. But once you let that go and start seeing as a whole, it makes sense.
Yeah. Just, if I can get rid of this entire reality, all the matter, all that is going to be left is me and these parts of myself. So
yeah, but we're together, so we need to work together.
Yeah. So I can be like, oh no, I need to do this because I've got to go do the dishes. Oh no, I got to go pick up this person. I got to go to work. I got to do that. I got to do that. But if I get rid of all of that, then it's still just me in these parts. And then I won't be healing them. I'll just be there with them. And that's all they need. They just need us to be there with them.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Anything else?
And thank you.
No, yeah, absolutely welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so I am going to jump to a couple of messages and I'm going to come back to the hands up, guys. So next one is, can you tell us what the eyes portrait behind you means in your journey of self-awareness? Like, what's the intention behind them? To be honest with you, there's not a huge meaning behind it. This is from an artist that I follow on TikTok, and I just love the depth of he captured the depth of how a soul would look through eyes. And I just love that so much. And that's why I bought it. It's a reminder for me of how deep we actually all are. And my journey, I've been learning more about eyes and soul gazing and just how deep you can actually look into people just through their eyes as well. So this one really, really hit home for me. I'm going to do one more and then I'll come back to the top. So I want to understand the difference between awareness of one's self and how it relates to higher and lower self or inner child, conscious and subconscious. It's about confusing when they say self-awareness, yet they keep saying stay connected with your inner child, yet disconnected yourself from, as you mentioned, the part of me. Yeah, to be honest, I don't blame you. There is a lot of information out there that can seem extremely contradictory as well. I want to look at it like this. We are, sorry guys, I'm just going to mute people. So we are many different layers. You as the soul are the higher self. You are the lower self, as you would say. But the conscious awareness that you are in this plane as well is also a couple of layers. So your conscious awareness is an observer layer and the character type layer. I've recently done a video on YouTube that goes deep into this explanation, and I've got graphics that really, really help you understand this. You've got the observer layer and the character layer. The character layer is many different parts as well. So it's not just one part. You are not one part. You are not just one thing. You are an ecosystem. You are many parts, hundreds, if not thousands of different parts. When you experience a trigger, you are being triggered to be another part of yourself. You can change parts in just a sentence. You can be multiple parts in one sentence, and you change parts all the way throughout the day. A trigger isn't only when you are experiencing an overwhelming emotion or anything. A trigger can be when you're just having a conversation and you just completely flip like that. Not like flip as in get angry, just you switch to a different part. And we hear a lot, you are not the human, but you are, but you're not. It depends on what you choose and how you choose to see yourself. For example, yes, I'm not the human, I'm the conscious driver. But if I, as the conscious driver, control the human to jump in deep water, it's not like I can just be under that water and go, it's all right, I'm a soul, I'm not going to die, don't worry about it. It's like, no, I'm the human being as well in this reality. So like I am, but I'm not. So it depends on what you're experiencing, what you're going through. And this is why I always explain this reality as like a game. When you realize that I'm playing this game, you're able to move your awareness to any layer that you need in that moment. So maybe I might be in fear, or maybe I might be in anger. By allowing myself to have the ability to raise my self-awareness and be curious of the self, which is me, I've raised my awareness to the observer level of the consciousness that I am in order to be able to observe what this part of me is going through, why this part of me feels like this. But that doesn't mean now that I'm the observer, I'm not this part of me. I am. It's understanding that we actually work different to the way that you've ever thought that we do. I work completely differently to what I've been taught, what I've experienced. I've only thought that I'm this one human, but I'm not. I'm a conscious driver of the human being that's at different layers of consciousness, different parts, and also the human and also my higher self. If you go to my YouTube channel, the video is called How You Create Your Reality. You'll be able to go much deeper into that with that understanding. Okay, I hope that answered that question. I'm going to come to the hand up. Is it Bader? Did I say that right? Bader?
Yes, Badr.
Bader. Okay, lovely. Nice to meet you, Bader.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome.
Just to share a bit of my experience of shadow work is that the more I do shadow work, the more there is light. That's for sure. And the more there is light, the more I see shadows. And my question, actually, three questions. How do you manage moments of shadow work fatigue?
Okay.
If we can say, like some moments when it feels like there is never gonna end. And is there any end to this shadow work? And if yes, how does it look like?
That's honestly, this is a very good question. And these are concerns that I had as well at the beginning of my journey. You're here intentionally. You've gone through certain experiences intentionally as a soul. You've gone through certain experiences that have caused you to fragment. This is what we call trauma. But we've always known the word and the term trauma as this really bad thing that happens that's only big and it's hush hush and it's really, oh my God, like trauma. Trauma is one of the most normalest things for a human being to experience. It's how we protect ourselves, it's how we keep ourselves safe. The way I keep myself safe in an experience where it would be overwhelming for me, I dissociate. My consciousness fragments. This is very normal for a human being. This has happened through my entire childhood. It's happened in other experiences in my life. It can happen tonight. It can happen tomorrow. But let's say if it happens tonight and tomorrow, then I might get to this part of me in a year's time, in a month's time, in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time. So yes, it's an ongoing thing. The reason it's an ongoing thing is because that's how we work. And in terms of the spiritual side of it, we're ascending up to becoming our higher self. The only reason that we feel like we are not one and whole with our higher self is because we are fragmented. So the more you reintegrate, the more you are becoming your higher self, essentially. Now, shadow work fatigue is absolutely a thing. I'm very hardcore with this stuff. And the first 2 years that I did this, there are healing session techniques that you can do that are extremely deep, very powerful. There are different ways of doing stuff, but there are some ways that are more powerful than other ways. I was doing like the most powerful ways that I could find constantly 6 times a week minimum, sometimes 7 times a week. And there was one day that I did it 4 times. And after that, I learned no. Because what's actually happening is when you reintegrate, your nervous system is actually resetting as well. Because when I bring a part of myself in and I reintegrate this part of myself, the concerns that it has, the thoughts that it has, the emotion that it was carrying that I was suppressing and pushing away, all of this has changed within my being. So the thoughts that it has aren't necessarily thoughts that exist within my being anymore. So the level of stress that I'm putting myself under with my thoughts is actually reduced, which is affecting my nervous system. Not affecting it in a bad way, it's changing it. So your body actually needs time to kind of like, okay, we've done that one, give me a break. Let's go into the next one when I can, and the next one when I can, you know. So this is something that I would strongly advise the individual to kind of gauge where they're at with it. And I would never recommend to do more than one a day. If you're going to do like a healing session, a huge healing session, one a day, I always say to my clients, because you will get this fatigue. Now, that being said, it's always going to be a lot more overwhelming and harder at the kind of like the beginning stages of your journey. Now, the beginning stages of your journey might be 2 years. You know, it might be a year, it might be 6 months, it might be longer. It's because, let's say if I'm 38 years old. So if I was to start today, I have 38 years worth of trauma to start going through. And your subconscious is constantly trying to communicate with you to get these parts of you reintegrated. So when you start, it goes, amazing, I'm going to throw everything at you. And it does, it throws out. And a lot of those parts of you just need feeling. There are different types of reintegration that different parts need. Some of them just need feeling the emotion. Some of them just need you to be there for them. Some of them just need the awareness. The awareness itself is fine. Some of them need much more exploration. Some of them need reassurance in your behavior as you go along through the next week or so. Some of them require part work. Some of them require this part to talk to this part, so then they can both come to an agreement. So to kind of answer your questions, yes, fatigue is a real thing. I would always go towards self-love to be like, I'm not overdoing it because I want to keep doing it. It is something that we will continue doing because it's a lifelong thing, because this is how we work. But at the beginning, it's going to seem a lot more extreme. You will get to a stage where it's like, oh, I'm doing this now. Okay, cool. I'm going to do this for half an hour and I'm done. And it doesn't feel anywhere near as extreme. Recently, I've been pushed through a lot of fear. And even though I'm like feeling it and I'm like, oh, this is fear. And I'm like really becoming aware. I'm like, all right, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. I give myself like half an hour and this. At the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. But I'm able to handle it now because I've been through it a lot. So yes, it will get easier. And it's about learning, oh, this is how I work. So this is how I work. I'm going to continue doing how I work, doing what I do in terms of how I work. And you will get to a place of just being able to essentially handle this journey in a much more powerful way. To answer your question?
No, thank you very much. It answers my question.
Fantastic.
I didn't hear you well.
I was really
Thank you very much.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Bada. So I'm going to go to one message and then I will come up to you, Erica. Message I have, sorry, the text is so small. I have preferable trauma, so it's hard to put words to the feeling. The emotions sometimes don't even feel like fully formed emotions, more like raw material. There's a lot to fear. There's a lot of fear to feel that the most of the time I need someone else present. No guidance, no words from them, but knowing something is with me while I do inner work. Do you know a way of creating that sense of someone is present, even just when it's myself is often not there, just or mainly parts? Or is it something we have to learn with someone else or their nervous system to integrate it. Sorry, my screen is not showing me this. I'm finding this very hard to integrate it and eventually do it ourselves. I can do it when I'm more connected, but getting back into connection, and if not possible, by others. Yeah, thank you. You're very welcome. Yeah. So, this is, it depends. Again, it's more about the unique perspective, your unique experience. There's a couple of things I want to talk about regarding this. Your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and the 3D reality that we experience. It treats both of them exactly the same. This is why in the state of imagination, we actually do healing. So maybe there are parts of you that need that safe parental figure to be there for them. And you can go in a state of imagination and give this need to this part of you. This is a technique that you can learn how to do. There is, so I've got the integration process in my online workshop and my online course. I think it's module 11. And in this one, we create a safe space. I teach you how to do all this. I teach you how to go there. What you can also do is you can bring other people in with you. So a safe parental figure can be absolutely anything, because we're in the state of imagination here. So it can be someone that's alive today. It might be a grandparent or a friend or an auntie or an uncle, or it could be someone that's passed. Again, a grandparent or anyone who has passed. You can bring anyone in. And if you feel like, well, there's no one past or living that I find safe, we can create this person. We can make this person up. So most of the time, when I speak to clients, I say, all right, bring in an angel. And that can look however you want it to look, however this part of you needs it. It doesn't need to be an angel. It can be just a made-up person, a made-up mother, a made-up father. In that state of imagination, you can do that. I also have a inner child meditation on my YouTube channel where we go and we bathe the child in a state of imagination in healing water. And after that, you can also bring someone else in as well. Now, that is kind of like one side and something you can try. The other side is that sometimes some parts of us needs the pain to be seen. And this can be seen by others as well. So it can be seen by people. It can be over video call. It can be in person. And like you said, I don't need them to do anything, just to be there with me. So that's quite normal, that is needed as well. And in terms of if it is anything along that, this is one of the main reasons why we pay for someone's services, because at the end of the day, even though we don't have safe relationships in our lives, which is why we are where we are. And whenever we pay for someone's services, whether it's a coach or a therapist or anything, we're essentially paying for that relationship that we don't have. This is why a coach can be there, because we're essentially creating what we need, what these parts of us need in that moment. So I would definitely recommend trying it in the state of imagination first, and then from there take it further if you need, and maybe speak to someone, maybe reach out to a friend, or take it further and maybe speak to a professional as well. I hope that helped. Okay, so I'm going to come back to Erica. Erica, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Lovely to meet you.
Me too. Thank you so much. Okay, so my question is, so I've been in the healing process for a while, I did it by myself at the beginning with reading a lot of books, podcasts, listening to people until I found you too. And then I started doing it with a coach, which was like very helpful because I needed some guide, right? But in the process, I did notice a disconnection that I created somehow because like I was so young and naive, like I didn't know what healing meant. So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna become spiritual, right? And I disconnected myself from my humanity, and I disconnected from my sexuality. And that happened to me. And it hit me after I actually learned what the healing process was, but I created this disconnection. And then I wondered if I was already disconnected since I was younger from my sexual part. And what I was doing was like to put makeup and believing that I was not disconnected, but I was actually disconnected. And I discovered it through this self-awareness process and this healing. But now I am a little bit lost, and especially because understanding that I am a human being, I understand that that's part of life. Actually, we come from that, so I need to understand how to integrate it to myself. And I don't know if it's because I haven't found somebody that thinks like me or that feels the way I feel or whatever. But my question is like, do you have anything that you can share about like how to connect your sexuality with the healing and the self-awareness process? And yeah, that's it. I almost didn't ask because I felt like really self-conscious about it.
Well, thank you for being able to ask. It means a lot, and I'm sure there are many people that could benefit from this conversation as well. So thank you so much for raising your hand and asking.
Thank you.
In terms of what you're speaking about, in terms of the sexuality, there are so many different possibilities that can take us to this. So, for example, the male and female of the human race is the expression of energy. Everything in reality is energy. And as human beings, the male and female is an expression of the energy. There's the masculine energy and the feminine energy. Now, that doesn't mean one's better than the other or anything like that. They're like, it's like a switch on or off or something. It's not like, so these are the expressions, and they both have qualities. Like, for example, the female, for women to actually be able to become aroused and have that connection through sex, that form of intimacy with a man to the full degree, they actually have to find safety first. They have to feel safe enough to be able to do that. It's not the same for men. They don't have to feel that safety first. Now, what I mean by it can happen for a lot of different ways, it's not just one way, is if a woman was to have, and a man, but we're just talking about the example of a woman here. If a woman was to have an experience throughout their life where in the moment of any sexual act or anything like that, they would be traumatized enough to feel so unsafe, then they wouldn't be able to find safety with any man. So this is a part of them. This is an experience, trauma, usually sexual trauma. This is what happens in terms of, I don't feel safe enough to be able to have sex to the full degree, to give myself to this relationship, to this way. And a lot of the times, a lot of people are very confused with their sexual preferences because of this. It was like, well, I don't find men attractive anymore. I don't understand what's going on. I'm not saying this is what all people that, all women that like women, what they go through or anything. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just giving one example of how a certain experience can shape the challenges you may have in terms of your sexuality or anything to do with sex. Or it might be getting shamed for wearing makeup as a young person. And you were so shamed for wearing makeup as a young person that I just don't want to wear makeup anymore. That could be another reason. And because I don't want to wear makeup anymore, that's just, I don't even, it triggers me when I see other women wearing makeup because of my wounds. Or it could be I've been brought up in a household full of men. And the only way that I was accepted by the social circle, which is my family circle, is by conforming to the standard of the social circle, which is you got to be a guy, you got to be a man. So I have changed myself. And because of that, you know, my dad didn't really accept me for being who I was. He wanted me to be a man. So that my brothers and my dad would always go and do stuff without me, and I wanted to go as well. So my masculine energy overcompensated in order for me to be able to be that expression of energy so I can be included in what's happening. So there are many, many different paths that can lead you down here. So it's not like, oh, this is this. It requires the awareness, the exploration of yourself to be able to do that. But the good thing is that the way that you do that exploration is by every other part, like the same way we do it with every other part as well, is we go through the emotion. An experience in your life will trigger an emotion. So let's say the example of the woman who was shamed for wearing makeup as a child. Let's say she sees her friend wearing makeup and her friend says, hey, do you want some of this makeup? And that triggers her. In that moment, that triggers that communication of that part of herself. But what we've learned to do, because we were never taught this stuff, and you know, our caregivers didn't know, their caregivers didn't know, society doesn't know, collectively, is that that's a communication. But what we do is we push it away. No, I don't want to feel this. I'll distract myself. I'll binge watch TV. I'll go out and get really drunk. I'll eat. I'll go to the gym. I'll work loads. Whatever it is to distract myself from how I feel. But how I feel is a communication. This is why every single way that I feel is correct. Because it's a communication. Correct doesn't mean that you should feel like that. Correct means like there's a reason why it's there. So I need to understand that. So in the moments you would be triggered for anything, but let's say we're talking about what you raised, which is the sexuality sides of things. In any of those moments, whether it's makeup or whether it's like having sex with someone or anything or like that, they're the parts of you that need that exploration. That's how you get to those parts of you.
Can I ask something? Like if I see that I am getting intimate with a guy and I have those feelings there, like I'm scared, but I want to enjoy, but I don't know how to. Like, what would be like the best way to proceed? Like, should I stop? Should I tell him? Should I that's I think the point where I don't understand because I'm afraid of being rejected. Right, but then I'm not enjoying it because I'm just thinking about it. Then I guess I should just stop and talk about it, or should I talk about it before?
That's a very good question. For me, I never tell anyone what to do because my job is to empower people, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I told them what to do. But what I can do is I can explain the situation and then you make the decision for yourself. So first of all, if I am someone that is going through that, then I need to make sure that my partner understands that. I need to make sure that my partner can hold space for that, is aware of that. Because not that fear of rejection is also an additional trauma on top of it as well. Because I've already had the experience that's getting me scared to go there. But now the experiences I've had to going there has made other people react in a way that they've rejected me because they've not been sure of, like, they've not been aware of what's been going on. So now I have that, oh my God, this pain that I have is actually the reason why I'm being rejected as well. So there's additional stuff. So yes, communication in relationships, you know, you've heard the term before, communication is key. I cannot tell you how true that is. That's the truest statement that we will make today. Communication is key, to explain, to bring to your awareness. And, you know, it's not, I would never say like, oh, in that moment, you need to go in that moment. Like, no, again, it's a decision that you need to make yourself. So explaining that, look, this is what I'm struggling with because of what I've been through. I need whoever I'm with to be able to hold space for me, to be able to understand that. Now, I don't know your partner. If he can't hold space for you, that's again another decision you need to make yourself. But this is also something that we can work away from that exact moment. So what you can do, because your mind, and I said earlier, your mind can't tell the difference between imagination or this 3D reality. So what you can actually do is you can put your mind, yourself, in an imaginative state of performing that act that triggers you. It won't trigger you the same way, but it's kind of like, it's our way of kind of tricking a fish hook to kind of this part of ourselves that we're trying to bring into the light of our awareness. So we can do that and then just go with it. And in those moments, become aware that you have learned how to keep yourself away from these parts of yourself. There are other parts that are keeping you away from this. So for example, you'll start feeling it, and then another part of you will go, no, that's not what it is. It's not like that. Don't worry about it. It's fine. That's not it. It was try to rationalize ways of not going into the reality of what that part of myself is feeling. So I want you to just immerse yourself and be okay with having wild, outrageous thoughts about yourself. I'm not desirable. No, of course you are. You have a boyfriend. No, I'm not desirable. Because that's how this part of me feels. And if I try to make myself feel better by saying, no, of course you do, because I've got a boyfriend, then I'm invalidating this part of me and I'm pushing it away. So in that moment, I need to live the reality that this part of me is living and has been living this whole time in order to bring it into myself and be able to do what I need to do. That good? Okay. Thank you very much for your question. Okay, guys, what time are we on? Oh, we got loads of time. Don't worry, it's only 10 past. Okay, that was the last hand up that I can see, so I'm going to go into the messages. I've got, how can I be aware about the unconscious thoughts and behaviors? Thank you. So one of the ways, well, we've got to realize that we are the conscious awareness, and we are learning how everything that the conscious awareness has works. So we are driving this human being, the avatar, and it has ways that it works. The conscious awareness and all of the parts are the ones that are having the thoughts, but the parts of myself that I want to become aware of, the thoughts and behaviors, are right now unconscious to me, because what we do is we put them somewhere we don't have conscious awareness of, which is our subconscious. So the way that I become aware of the behaviors and the thoughts is by I need to connect to that part of myself. And I can't do that in my head. I can't work it out logically. The way that I connect to that part of myself is through my emotional system. So I have to feel the emotions that that part of me is feeling in order to connect. That's how we connect to that part of ourselves. My thoughts take me away from the reality that that part of me is living in. So what I can do, as we just spoke, is I can allow myself to have any thoughts that come up without trying to change them. And by doing that, it allows that part of myself to come to me more and more, and I start feeling what this part of me is feeling. And once I feel this part of myself, I can sit down, eyes closed, just feeling. And depending on which part of your journey you're at as well, this happens mainly, like mostly really powerfully at the beginning part of our journeys, because the subconscious is just like, I'll give you all of this. But just merely sitting with the emotion with our eyes closed and allowing any thoughts to come up, observing these thoughts, observing your body, brings so much information to you of where this part of you originated from, where it came from, why it has the behaviors that it does, why it believes what it believes. And you can really take it from there. You can become aware of the thoughts and behaviors that this part of you has as well. But the connection is through the emotion. If it's overwhelming, that's very, very understandable. And it's very understandable that it can be scary to connect with these emotions. I've got a video on YouTube called What is Anxiety and How to Release It. In that video, I teach you how to observe your thoughts and how to observe your body. And by observing your thoughts and your body, you actually become the observer layer of your consciousness, and you detach from these thoughts and you detach from your body as it's feeling the emotion. So then you, the observer, actually start vibrating at a different frequency, and it won't be as overwhelming. And we do that to just allow the body to release the emotions that it's carrying. I hope that helped. I'm going to move on to the next person. Another direct message. Please can you talk to us a little bit more about integration? Do you see it purely as a conscious choice, like a light switch, or is it a process? I'm not able to come out on camera or microphone currently. That's okay. No worries at all. Yeah, so integration is actually to kind of simplify it. So I'm gonna be as simple as possible here. Integration is to undo the traumatic experience that we had, essentially. That's like the shortest, simplified version. Doesn't mean it's easy. When we experience trauma, it's in a moment where we're experiencing emotional distress without any resolution for that emotional distress that we're going through. And trauma is a very normal thing for a human being to go through and experience. So what happens is we experience a split in our consciousness, and these splits are parts of us. You're an ecosystem, you're not one part. Some of these parts, it's one of the parts we take on and it becomes part of our behavior. These parts have different wants, different needs, different behaviors, and we take that on. So that is now our behavior as well. This is the part of me that has learned to keep me safe. The other part, the one that had the emotional distress, I can't handle that and I don't like that. So I'm going to reject that part of myself and put it somewhere I don't have conscious awareness of, which is my subconscious. Now, reintegration is to undo that experience essentially. So through the trigger of feeling the emotion that other part of me is feeling, I'm going to bring that part of me back. And when I meet the unmet needs that part of me has, then that part of me now becomes me. This is why we talk about, you cannot heal, you cannot reintegrate, you cannot do any of this without self-love. By accepting these parts of you and bringing them in is what love is. Love is to accept, and it's to take on as a part of yourself. The reason why we love our children so much is because we see them as a part of ourselves. They are us. We see them as a part of ourselves. So if I do make any decisions or do anything that will harm this part of myself, then it will harm me. That is what love is. The part of myself that my decisions actually harm, I haven't taken them on, so I'm not loving them. By loving these parts of myself, I take them on, meet their needs, and that's reintegrating. That's essentially, when I say undoing the split, it doesn't mean that they disappear, but they are reintegrated. I'm resolving the unmet needs, and I'm resolving the emotional distress in that moment, that when I had the traumatic event. I hope that helped. Wow, there's so many more messages. Okay, I'm just going to keep going through these messages then, guys. How can you stop making the same mistakes twice? I'm in NA, and although I'm making progress, I got to a certain length of abstinence and then start using alcohol again on feelings of self-loathing. That's a very good question. So again, it's very unique to the individual, but I'm going to give the broadest answer that I can. Any form of addiction, especially a substance use, is because of pain. The core root of it is pain. Through the experiences that we've had, through the trauma that we've experienced in our lives. Now, more often than not, and what's been happening most of the time through human history, is tackling any sort of addiction, we've only ever tackled really the act and the substance itself. So if I was addicted to alcohol, I would force myself to stop drinking alcohol. If I was addicted to weed, I would force myself to stop smoking weed. If I was addicted to pills, I'd force myself to stop having pills. Now, if I just do that, I'm not addressing the core reasons of why I even started to do that. This is why a lot of people that are addicted to alcohol will move it over to being addicted to weed. And then they might move that over to being addicted to the gym. And then move that over to being addicted to work. Now, unfortunately, there are some addictions in reality in society that society actually praises. But the addiction still comes from pain, comes from parts of ourselves that need these attentions. So we do praise people who will go to the gym a lot, who are addicted to the gym. But those same people will not praise someone for being addicted to alcohol. So there are instances where it's more challenging as well. If I'm addicted to the gym and everyone's kind of praising me for it, this is even better. I'll just keep going and going. But any and all addiction is because of pain that needs your awareness, needs to be seen, needs to be understood, needs to be reintegrated, needs to be healed. So to answer your question, how can I stop making the same mistakes twice? Is to understand that at the core of those decisions and choices that we make, even though everything in reality is showing me that it's a mistake, I've got to understand that it's not a mistake to a degree. The choices I make are because of wounds, not because I'm a bad person or because I want bad things for myself, or even if I feel like I don't deserve good things. That's because that's a learnt behavior.
Thank you. That all does make sense. Thanks very much.
You're very welcome. I can leave it there, Stacey, if you want. Okay, I am gonna jump up to hands up, and it's Amy. Hey, Amy.
Hi there.
Hi.
Oh.
Nice to see you.
Hi there. I do have questions. It's so good to see you.
Nice to see you.
But I really don't even know how to articulate my questions. So I honestly, I just wanted to acknowledge you and thank you for all of your work. There is so much value in what you're doing. And I just wanted to just pause and say thank you for all of us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. Okay, thank you very much for that. I will go to the next person with their hands up, and it's Bart. Nice to see you again, Bart.
Nice to see you. I'm maybe. Nice to see you again, Arian. So I have a question, something I realized, something I knew about for a long time, but I realized a few days ago how deep it is, how kind of profound it is. And it's kind of sort of imposter syndrome when it comes to having a trauma.
Yeah.
So basically, I see all the symptoms, like struggling throughout my whole adult life, let's say with procrastination, like let's call it ADHD, symptoms of underachiever. I was supposed to achieve a lot because I'm talented, but I went the opposite. Anxious attachment, very extreme. We had many, people pleasing. So I see the symptoms. They are there. They are very profound and they're very hard to change. I see finally some improvement in the past year, let's say, after doing the deep work over 3 years. But still, when I think about my past, I see the mistakes of my parents. I see my father being completely not showing the emotion, etc. But then I, read the stories of some people, let's say online. My ex-girlfriend, for example, horrible childhood with abuse, bipolar mother, etc. And so when I'm thinking about my symptoms, they're quite, let's say, severe. Not maybe extreme severe, like self-harm, but they're very hard to get rid of. Let's say they're very deeply rooted. And then when I think about my past, I'm like, it still doesn't make. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. It's like I know people, and I read stories from people that had much worse upbringing. Like real abuse, physical abuse, or sexual abuse, etc. And they feel kind of managed. I mean, not to diminish it, but they came out. They're managing, right? They have jobs, oftentimes pretty good jobs. So they have partners, etc. And for me, when I'm thinking about my past and I compare it to my symptoms where I am, I'm like, doesn't make sense because. So I think you know what I mean. It's like this kind of imposter syndrome when it,
No, I understand. This is a very normal thing. A lot of people go through this in part of their journey. I'm going to ask you some questions, and these are just exploratory reasons. This isn't, then it's required to raise your self-awareness. Why are you comparing yourself to others?
Because I think we always need to have some kind of measuring stick, like ballpark, like.
Why?
It's just kind of like my belief, is to have some kind of measure, because without the measure, it's hard to orientate yourself within space and place.
Yeah, but that's comparing again. But I'm asking why. The reason you can't answer is because there is no answer. It's a learnt behavior. When we grow up, this mostly happens in households with siblings, is we're compared. Well, your brother doesn't do this. Your sister doesn't do this. Why can't you be like that person? Why can't you be more like this person? You better get, why did half the class get really good grades, but you didn't? Why did this person do? We're compared in so many different ways that we're not even aware of. We're not even sure of. We're not aware that we're being compared. I'm just constantly being compared to others. And through that comparison, I'm being rejected. I'm being pushed away. I'm being shamed. I'm being belittled. I'm not good enough to be accepted for who I am. I'm constantly being told that I should be like everyone else. Along with that, there are other behaviors as well that we go through. One of the worst things that we say to children is, well, you should eat your dinner because there are kids in Africa that can't eat. You should be thankful to have this because there are other people that can't. And there's so much guilt as well there. And so we're being compared, and I'm being told that I don't have it as bad as other people as well. So now I'm stuck in these two crazy patterns of not only comparing myself, but belittling my own experience because I see other people that I believe have it worse. But you were never taught any of this. Ever. No one was. Society, this is not something that we teach people. This is why we're all sat here now. Because we all find it challenging to a degree that we seek the answers ourselves. If we were taught, we wouldn't seek the answers. So, if I was to tell you that the smallest thing causes trauma, a child seeing their parent walk out their eye line causes trauma. You experience trauma in the womb. Trauma is when you're told off, when you're scolded. Trauma is when you speak up and someone goes, just give me a minute. And you go, oh, that can be traumatic. Because trauma is very normal. Trauma is emotional distress without resolution in the moment for that distress. And if I understood and I knew all of the experiences that you've had in your life, there would be much, much more than you actually know that there is. There's a reason you're sat here talking to me right now. Because there's enough for you to go, I need to understand myself. I need to understand what's going on. No one gets to hear unless they're in a place where it's kind of like, it's a priority enough for me to go and understand it. I'm not saying that to suggest that there's something wrong with you or that you're broken or anything. I'm actually validating these parts of you so they understand that it's okay. It's very normal. It's okay that, I always say it's okay not to be okay, because it is. These parts of you need that validation. They need to understand, because every time we compare ourselves with others and every time we belittle ourselves because someone else is going through something else, I'm rejecting the parts of myself that are going, hey, I'm in pain. It's like, hey, I'm in pain, but I shouldn't be in pain because of that person. But I shouldn't be like this because of, other people have it worse. But what you actually need to do is validate these parts of yourself. That's actually the path that they're looking for. It's one of the most validating things you can do in this journey. Once you get to a place of becoming comfortable enough to becoming comfortable of not being okay, I'll tell you what, you fly through at that point, because you're just learning how to validate yourself more and more.
That's the difficult part of validating myself, my parts, again, because I know that maybe not with everyone, but I probably would be, I'm much more understanding and compassionate towards others if someone told me their story, and then I would be like, yeah, it makes sense. Although part of me also would still kind of judge. I'm like, I know that part of me would judge and be like, well, it wasn't your past. What you're telling me is, I get it. I would be more understanding than towards myself, but I probably would also still be judging. You know what I mean? So it's learning to I guess have even more compassion, especially for myself, is the most difficult one.
Absolutely, and this is something we learn, and I just want to highlight as well. First of all, it's not the judging that we need to stop doing. Everyone judges. You judge me, I judge you. Everyone in this call has judged me. They've judged you. They've judged each other. They've judged the names. It's something that humans do. But it's just, we've been taught you shouldn't judge people. It's like we literally have like shows on TV that are specifically to judge people. So it's not the concept of judging people that's wrong. It's understanding, why am I judging this person in this way? Why am I judging myself in this way? Because judging is okay. If I met you for the first time in life and we shook hands, you're instantly judging me. I'm instantly judging you. It could be because of the way that we're dressed or the way that we look, the ethnicity that we are. Judging is something that every human does. And if I go down the path of thinking that I shouldn't judge, I'm stopping that exploration. I'm stopping that communication. Just understanding, why am I judging them in this way? What experience that I've had, because how I judge people is how I judge myself. If someone does something and I go, oh my God, that fucking drives me crazy, that's actually me judging the parts of myself that do that in that way. Our ability to be there for others is a reflection of our ability to be there for ourselves. And I mean in a healthy way.
Yeah, that's very helpful, especially the part about why am I judging this way? Not to stop myself judging this way, because I completely agree that we always judge and it's natural. But I would like not to judge people in a certain way. But it's not about stopping myself from judging this way. It's like I said, exploring why am I judging this way.
Once you understand it and go to that part of yourself and meet the needs and understand it, raise that self-awareness, you'll just stop. You don't need to force yourself to stop. You will stop because you're not doing that to yourself. This is why, like, a lot of people have a lot of fear of putting things on social media as well, because people will say some outrageous shit to them. I get some crazy stuff said on my posts all the time, but I understand that those people, that's them about themselves. It's not actually anything to do with me. There are so many of my posts that sometimes people comment and say some outrageous shit. And on the same post, it's got loads of likes and loads of people are saying amazing things. So it's not the post, it's the individual people that have different experiences. And that's what we do. We judge others based on how we judge ourselves. So it's not the judging that we need to stop. It's understanding it. I hope that helped.
Just a quick follow-up question. Do you think, I'm wondering if it's easier to get to having more self-compassion by having more compassion towards other people first, because I already have more compassion towards other people, or do you think it should start?
It always has to start with the self.
Right.
The reason you have more compassion for others is because you're abandoning yourself. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have compassion for others. But if I have more compassion for others than myself, I need to understand why that is. So,
right.
But what you can do is you can start showing that compassion to yourself by using the example of how you show compassion to others and doing that to yourself. That's a benefit of this situation. This is one of the things, like, for on the journey, and we're learning how to cultivate and practice self-love. One of the kind of benefits a parent has is that they have a child that they love very much. So it's easy to love the child, but not easy to love myself. So what I can do is I can see how I love the child and use that way of loving the child on myself. And this is the same thing.
Yeah, that also makes sense. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Bart. Love to see you again. Okay. I'm going to do one more message and then I will come back to you, Karina. So question is, what is the best way to keep expectations at the right level? I sometimes feel rejected I sometimes feel rejections hurt me more than they should because of what my initial expectations were. It's a very good question. I know your question is about expectations, but we would be looking in the wrong place. It's not the expectations. You're feeling the hurt of the rejection, and you're going, okay, I don't want to feel that hurt, so I need to change my expectation. Then that will make me stop feeling that hurt. But there's a reason that hurt is there, and it's not necessarily the outcome. It's the meaning that we give to the outcome. For example, let's say if I put myself out there and go and speak to a girl at a bar or anywhere, and then she says no, she can say no in a very lovely way. And they're like, no, sorry, I've got a partner, no. And I can still feel that rejection. It's because of the underlying meaning that I have given to that rejection. That meaning is like lightning quick. It's like speed of light, like really, really quick. The pain that we feel in the triggers that we have isn't actually like the thoughts in the moment. That's not where the pain is coming from. If we were to use a garden analogy, the thoughts are like the branches of the weed. Where the pain actually comes from is the root of the weed, which is the meanings/beliefs. So in a moment where I might put myself out there and be rejected by someone, the pain is coming from the belief about myself, which is why I was rejected. So what you need to do is you need to go towards the parts of yourself that feel rejected, the parts of yourself that have the pain of the rejection. Give them what they need internally. Learn how to bring them in with love. And once you do that, and the more you do that, these parts of yourself, this exact same scenarios will not make you feel the hurt like you do. And automatically your expectation will be different. Our expectation changes based on how we feel about ourselves. So if I put myself out there and I try to speak to someone and I don't think that highly of myself, and there's so many parts of myself that still have a lot of unmet needs, if I am rejected in that moment, I'm going to feel very different than if I was in a place where I found my worth and I had a lot more healthier kind of beliefs about myself than detrimental beliefs about myself. My expectations wouldn't be as high. And if I get rejected, I'll be like, oh, it's all right. I can go get someone else because I know I'm worth it. So it's not the expectations I need to look at. It's understanding the rejection that I feel. Okay, I'll come up. Karina, hi again.
Hi. So I had to come here because my thing told me to come, and I was listening to the conversation with Bart, and it triggered me the fact that it's just us living in a dark emotional ages, and we are brought up by the society to believe that the abuse recognized and validated in the society is the physical abuse and sexual abuse. But there are more types of abuse out there. The emotional and psychological abuse is more damaging than the physical abuse, because physical abuse heals, but the emotional abuse leaves the wounds inside. And sometimes we split, and the wounded part goes so deep in the subconscious. Then it screams inside our head all the time, but we refuse to see it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that Bart was saying about the imposter syndrome, and many of us have that because it's the way we brought up. But in my journey, I have discovered that I was abused emotionally, psychologically, spiritually by my own parents. And many of us are being abused from childhood. And that in that moment, I have realized that subconsciously I applied this pattern in raising my child through the moment of my awakening, let's say like that, because that's what we learned. So I think being aware means questioning everything that society taught us up to the moment of our awakening.
I'd even go further than that, but yes, I agree with you. Yeah, just everything is a feedback to understand everything. It's very interesting you said. What I'd like to add to it, to the degree that physical trauma actually causes emotional trauma as well. You are an emotional being that thinks. You're not a thinking being that feels emotions. Your emotions are actually one of the most important parts of being a living being in this reality.
Yeah.
Because they are your guidance system. That doesn't mean that only that's only true for the lower vibrational emotions of anger, fear, shame, guilt, and everything. Even if I'm in a state of bliss, if I'm feeling peace, if I'm tapped into joy, that's still feedback. That I'm still understanding that joy is what I use to be on the path of finding my purpose. That doesn't mean that, all right, I enjoy playing football. That doesn't mean football is my purpose. But it puts me in a state, it puts me in an energetic state. It allows me to continue following my joy. And then my joy will be like, oh, I play football, but then this is also my joy, and this is also my joy, and this, and or collectively I'm having more fun, and I'm in a vibrational frequency that's very, very different. And oh, this actually brings me a lot of joy. I can start making money from this. Oh, I'm learning my emotional state. My higher self or the universe is communicating to me through my emotions as well. The way it does that is I, as my higher self, will manifest a scenario that will trigger an emotion, which is a guide. So everything in this reality is your emotions. It's like the emotions is like the windscreen of the vehicle. Like you have to be able to see it, like see it through it, to be able to experience this reality. But our entire lives, we've been taught to ignore our emotions and reject it. And
yes, because society is bringing us up to learn to develop only the mind.
Exactly.
But the mind is only a part of us, and in so many ways it tricks us.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there. This is why we have these workshops as well. And
I mean, for me, once I stopped listening to the mind and start listening to the body, where's the pain? Yeah. What emotion do I have? What are you telling me? It's all changed.
Absolutely. It's very powerful. It's very, very powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Let me see how many more messages. Okay, there's not a lot of messages. I'm going to go to this one message, and then I'm going to come to the next person with their hand up, which is Pasha. I hope I said that name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Well, I'm sure you'll tell me in a minute. Okay, so the question is, how do you change a behavior that you learn as a child? Basically, the fear of not being wanted or good enough if you did not behave in a certain way that you then end up taking with you into adulthood. So when it's triggered, instead of knowing that has nothing to do with who I am today, nor the situation I am currently in, and because you get triggered and end up retrieving into yourself / shut down, and the way that actually making what you fear happen. Yeah. Okay, I'm reading the rest of it. It's a good question. Your entire experience your entire life has led you to have many, many experiences. And because we've not known what's going on, no one's really been able to be there for us in the way emotionally that we've needed someone to be there for us. This is a reflection of the time that we live in, not because anyone's bad. It's not our caregivers didn't know, their caregivers didn't know, and we all do the best of what knowledge that we have. The fear of not being good enough isn't one thing. It's a amalgamation of many, many experiences that we've had. If I have had an experience where I've been scolded, I give meaning to that experience. The meaning is the belief. It's the belief that I'm not good enough. That's the meaning I give to it. But I can also give other meanings to experiences as well. So I might have another experience where I may try and be talking to everyone, but everyone's ignoring me and no one's listening to a word I'm saying. So the meaning I give to that is that I'm rejected, I'm ignored. But if I'm rejected, I'm ignored, that's because I'm not good enough. So that also adds to that as well. It's not just one meaning, I'm giving many meanings. Essentially any meaning that I give that's a negative meaning can always be traced back to that's happening because I'm not good enough. I'm unworthy. So in order to be able to get to a place where you find your worth and you actually genuinely start feeling like you are good enough, it requires you to work through many of these parts of yourself to be able to understand what their unmet needs are and meet those needs for them, to be able to give them what they don't have or what they're looking for, to be able to start getting to a place where you're able to stick to your boundaries, not abandon yourself, even if the outcome means that a certain person in your life won't be in your life anymore. When I keep doing that and I keep showing up for myself and I stop abandoning myself at the same time of healing these parts of myself, eventually I get to a place where I truly feel like I'm good enough. It's an ongoing thing, and on everyone's journey, the moment you find your worth is a moment. And for me, it was a very, very big moment. And it is for anyone. And it was a moment where I truly just fell down and started crying as well, because I truly, for the first time in my life, felt like I was good enough. And they were happy tears, which is very rare because healing that much, I didn't have a lot of happy tears. But it's an ongoing process and you will eventually get there. But the best advice that I can give you is learn how you work as an emotional being. Learn how to fully heal these parts of yourself in the best way that you can. Everything that I put out there on the internet is to teach and guide everyone towards this. So I've got loads of information on YouTube. I have online courses as well. All the stuff I put on social media, this is part of that path. I hope that helped. Right, what time are we on? All right, we've got 10 minutes. Unfortunately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these 3 hands up, and that's it, guys. I won't be able to do any more. If I've missed any messages or anything, I do apologize, but I've got very limited time this evening. So I'm going to come straight to you. Is it Pershon? Have I said that right?
Parshan.
Pershon. Lovely to meet you.
Great meeting you as well. Thank you so much for holding this space. First of all, it's amazing. And my question is that, like, throughout this process, and it just being my experience, is that, okay, it's understanding I am, and then trusting. But trust is a little, that's where my battle is right now, is trusting that process, or trusting self. And so my question would be, how do you go about trust, or what is trust?
No, I understand. It's a very good question. It is very challenging, because where we end up is because of the self and the mistrust. So, and that can happen in many, many different ways. It can happen because we don't show up for ourselves. It's like, for example, let's say if I was talking to you and we were going to go to the gym, and I was like, no, I'm coming to the gym. And then you're like, all right. So then you went and you didn't see me there. And for 10 days, I kept telling you that I was going to come to the gym, but then I never turned up. On day 11, if I was to say, I'm coming to the gym, would you trust that I'm going to the gym?
I'd like to trust, but it'd be hard to trust.
Right. So you would lose that trust because I'm not showing up for what I'm saying I'm going to do. And that works within ourselves as well. We can lose trust in ourselves because we're not showing up for ourselves. And we can also lose trust in other ways as well. So for example, we could be with a partner, and then like I'm certain I'm ending up with this person. Like, we're going to get married. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together. And then 2 years later, the relationship breaks up. But then I can be like at a place where I was like, I fully was certain that that was what was going to happen. So now I can't even trust my own opinion. I can't trust what I feel, what I'm thinking, or anything like that. So there's a lot of ways that we lose self-trust. Now, trust is an interesting one, because in the spirit of raising self-awareness and becoming aware more as well, you know, even with what I do, and I say this to my partner, actually, I say this, is even though I can be like, no, I'm certain of what I'm saying is the truth for you. Like, I get it. I always leave that small percentage of, well, you know, I'm open to it, because we don't know what we don't know. I don't know what I don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So even though I trust myself as much, I never trust to trust myself 100% isn't necessarily the way. It's to be like, open yourself up for the possibility that this might not be the path. What that actually does is it allows you to be okay with getting things wrong. That helps build trust. Because if I'm setting this expectation on myself that everything has to be 100% right, and you know, I don't know what I don't know, so how can everything be right? How can I say, you know, everything that I say, how is that going to ever be? I don't know what I don't know. So understanding that it's okay to get things wrong as well. The other thing that really, really helps on this path of learning how to trust yourself again is, no matter what happens, I will always be there for you. I say that to myself. No matter what happens, I will always be there for you. Even if I get this thing so wrong, even if I lose all of my money and lose my house and lose my car and everything, I will be there for you. So no matter what happens, because our fear of anything that we do also could lead us to the type of behaving a certain way to ourselves where it's really, really not nice. Like, it's very self-hating. Oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Like, oh my God. I'm not going to trust myself if I speak to myself like that. Allowing myself to get things wrong, and no matter what, I'm always going to be there for you. That's what I say to myself all the time. This is how you build trust up. And it's something that you build up. So if in 10 days I kept telling you I'm going to the gym and I wasn't, but then from day 11 to day 70, I continuously came to the gym when I said it, you would start to trust my word again. You know, those 10 days won't seem like, kind of, you'll be like, no, he's been coming for 70 days. Like, I get it. If you can show up for yourself constantly, you're going to start trusting yourself constantly.
Sweet. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so let's go to the next person. It's Michelle Murphy. Hi, Michelle. Oh, hello. I can't hear you, Michelle. Just need to unmute.
Unmute. There we go.
Hey.
Hi. So it's kind of, I watched your thing about the Matrix one online.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this thing about and then, when you link in like the higher self and then that we all kind of creating our reality, then I put so much pressure on myself of like this perfection. Very similar to like what Bart said as well. Like I don't have this pressure on anyone else. And it feels like literally like there's this weight on the shoulders of like there's like, the higher self thing is just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So how do you break that down into like smaller manageable steps where there's less pressure and it's more realistic?
When you say break that down, what do you mean? Break what down?
Like it seems like there's this massive thing where it's like, okay, so we're creating our own reality. There's this higher self. We've got to do this shadow work. We've got all this stuff. And then there's just like in society being this pressure of like then caring about the environment, not making an impact, being kind to everyone, not being a drain and all that stuff. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you break it down? And then with an element of being as kind to yourself as you would to other people. Like,
I understand.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question, but again, it's any questions that are asked in these sessions are all exploratory reasons. To help. Why do you have to be perfect?
Well, I don't seem to think that everyone else does. But I had like kind of went through like 20 months like of having this thing that I would like, be put in a hell dimension if I wasn't perfect. But everyone else is fine. Like, and it's this weird thing that is, and I realized recently that a lot of that, I thought it was an external judgment. And then of like being brave and all this stuff. And I jumped into Loch Ness recently and I realized that it was me that wanted to do it. It wasn't anyone else testing me. It was me.
Yeah.
But I've not done that on other aspects where it seems to be like the Matrix, that thing. And
I understand, but why do you have to be perfect?
Yeah, no one else does.
Well, forget about everyone else. I'm just saying, why do you have to?
Yeah. It just feel, I don't know. It's just this thing of like, well, if you could, because it's possible, and I don't know, like what even
being
to
perfect
gauge
is
that,
possible.
what you compare that on.
What is perfect?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. I might actually got like wabi. Do you know heard of wabi sabi? I have that on my wall, and that means like perfectly imperfect, doesn't it? And it's like, well, yeah.
Well, the notion of perfection and any definition that anyone would give on perfection is subjective.
Yeah.
My perfect is vastly different to your perfect, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's like everyone having a different favorite color.
Yeah. So how can you be perfect?
Yeah.
How could you be perfect?
For everyone. You can't be perfect for everyone.
Well,
you just have to be for yourself.
But whether it's for everyone or yourself, how can you be perfect? Because yourself is subjective as well. And what you believe today wasn't what you believed 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The reason why anyone believes that they need to be perfect or have the perfectionism is because they have learned that who they are is not acceptable. Because of, if I believe that I need to be perfect, then I'm trying to be something. And if I'm trying to be something, that means I can't be what I am or who I am.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I go towards trying to be perfect. Is because I have learned that who I am isn't accepted. So I need to become perfect.
But then, so how do I accept exactly how I am?
It's not to do one thing. There are many parts that I've learned that it's not okay to be who you are. And it goes down to crying as a child and being told that big girls don't cry. It's when you're angry as a child and being scolded for being angry. For wanting to go upstairs and not say goodnight and not hug someone and then come down here and hug them. Oh, okay. Not wanting to sing happy birthday to someone when everyone else is singing it, but then getting scolded and being told that I need to. It's so many different things of me having life experiences where I have learned that I have to be what I am expected to be, not who I am.
Yeah.
So,
because then it feels like there's pressure that, like, you know, that everyone's like being their higher self, and I'm just like, well, I don't know what to do. Or do you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, then I'm creating everything bad, and it's just a lot of pressure. And
I understand. It's at the core root of it. When we look around and everyone's talking about this, or this person's being their higher self, or this person, or anything like that, one of the main kind of misconceptions about me, because I put myself out there on social media, and I try and say this as many times as I can on social media, is I go through shit all the time. I was put through a horrendous amount of fear yesterday, so much so that I had to stop everything that I was doing and go and just lay down for half an hour, because I was really struggling with the amount of fear that I was going through and everything that was happening. We tend to look at other people and go, oh, they got their shit together. Like, no, like I'm going through this as well. Everyone is. We all go through it, and it's challenging for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's very, very normal to be in my own world with the experiences that I've had that have told me, no, it's not okay who you are. It's not okay who you are. It's not okay. You have to change like this. You've got to change like this. So then I look at everyone, and we're going back to that comparison again. If I've lived an experience, like, why can't you be like this person? And why do you always do this? Why can't you be like this child and, you know, your cousin or your brother or your sister? Or I'm constantly, so now I compare myself as well. So I'm looking around, well, everyone's talking about their higher selves and everyone seems to have their shit together and everything, and I don't. So everyone must be better than me.
Yeah.
But what you need to do is go towards the parts of yourself that feel like you need to change. You don't need to change. You need to heal.
Yeah.
When we say that I need to change, you're implying that there's something wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with you. You're working exactly the way you should be. The experiences you've had in your life have brought you to believing these things about yourself.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing as well. It's felt really connecting. Beautiful.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for your vulnerability as well. Okay, guys, I've got one more person to talk to, and then we're gonna have to call it an evening. And is it Joel? Have I said that name right?
Yeah, you got it right. Yeah.
Joel.
Evening. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
Yeah, it was really, really powerful what Michelle was just mentioning there, and I just wanted to follow on from that. A lot of this comes from constant reassurance and validation through others that I would say I've experienced for many, many years, and it's got stronger and stronger over the years. And I was never really aware of it until the last sort of year or so. And my way has always been trying to help others because I love helping other people. It gives you fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really struggling to get past this self-worth, low self-esteem, worthlessness, and of no value of anything or where my place is in the world. And yeah, I just wanted to know your thoughts on that, really.
It's a very valuable thing to talk about. For someone who is in the industry of helping others as well, it's something that I've gone through myself. The challenge is it can be your journey's purpose or path to help others, and you can feel what you feel because that is your purpose. But at the same time, it requires the exploration of how I'm doing it. What I mean by that is what we do is we unconsciously go towards helping others as a way of trying to help ourselves. But because we've never really learned how to help ourselves, that's how we're trying to. You see this a lot with mainly with like nursery teachers. Most nursery teachers get into it because they're trying to heal their inner child. And this is where it's tricky, because it's like, well, I can be like, well, I know that this is my path, but the way I'm doing it is a detriment to me. I'm putting other as a priority to myself. It's also how I get my value. I myself on this journey had to learn how to create boundaries for myself to protect my energy. And that can be, okay, I can only work at these times. That can be, all right, I can't do as many workshops. Like I used to do, I think from the people that have been coming from the first ever session that I did, I used to do this every single week and it was killing me. Like I just couldn't do it. But one of the main reasons why I continued doing it was because I was assigning my own worth and value to it. Well, if, people come to me and I can help them and they feel good, then that means I'm good enough. That's the challenge that I had to go through.
Yeah.
But if I had my value, which thankfully I've been able to get to a place where I've truly found my value, it's completely changed the way that I do what I do. And even though I've still at times finding myself like, oh no, I'm becoming aware, like I'm doing it again. It might be a conversation I'm having with someone. And in that conversation, I'm realizing that I'm assigning my value to this again. Like, no, let's not do that. I don't need to do that. And I'm recognizing the parts of myself that are doing that, what they need. Why do they believe that we're not good enough? And when I say we, I mean collectively the part of me. I always refer to myself as we because I'm multiple parts. So what are we believing about us, about me, that what am I missing here? In order to find for anyone to find our worth, it's continuing with this journey of the self, prioritizing myself, going within myself, healing these parts of myself. The reason why I feel unworthy is because of the unconscious meanings that these unconscious parts of myself have given. Let's say if there was like a scale, and this side is, I'm worthy and this side is I'm unworthy. There are so many parts of me that are giving energy to the I'm unworthy, that this is how I feel. So the more I become aware of these parts of myself and I bring them in and I reintegrate them, and at the same time I start showing myself and proving to myself and reprogramming my subconscious and through affirmations and things of I am worthy, collectively together, that scale starts to shift. And eventually I find my worth. And eventually I do feel worthy. And maybe if someone calls me at 11 at night saying, hey, I really need to talk to you right now, I can be like, I'm about to go to bed. Sorry, I can't. Because I have to put myself first.
Yeah, I've never ever, it's funny you say that, I've never ever done that. It's like I could drop everything in an instant and I know I'm doing it. And yet I've always been unable to stop myself, because you sort of go, oh, that's my go-to, that's going to work. And invariably you're always leaving yourself short, and it's just knowing how to get past that, really. That's why I sort of raised my hand, really.
Yeah. Well, the way you do it is by healing the parts of yourself. So if you say no to the person who calls you, you're going to be triggered to feel that fear or whatever you're feeling, that anxiety. And anxiety is a mask of a suppressed emotion. So under the feeling, under the sensation of anxiety, you will have an emotion.
Yeah.
It's those are the parts of you that need your attention. Once you start giving those parts of you more and more attention, start bringing them in. Like I said, I've got online courses that I teach you how to do this, how to bring them in, how to understand how you work. The more you do that, eventually you can get to a place where you go, sorry, I can't. Right now, it's 11:30 at night. You're asking for too much. Yeah. I need to go to sleep. And you'll be completely okay with that.
It's the reason why I say I do it, it's the fear of, I suppose it's abandonment, because if I don't go there, I've lost my chance, if it makes sense. Yeah. But
well, they don't think good of me. They don't think I'm like this really good person who helps them. Oh my God, I won't get that praise. And then they might actually not want to know me anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And because of that, I've learned to abandon myself and give to the other, because this is a repeat of my childhood, where I learned and I had to abandon myself constantly.
Yeah.
In order to conform to what others wanted from me. So how I felt didn't matter. When I was upset, it didn't matter. When I was angry, it didn't matter. I just had to make sure that others were happy. And in the moments where I actually kind of stuck up for myself, I was rejected, I was scolded, I was pushed away, I was punished. And it was way too severe for what it actually was. So it's not even worth doing that anymore. The safest thing to do is to abandon myself.
Yeah, from a very young age. A very, very young age, and I still feel the same now.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
I hope that brought some clarity to you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. It's unbelievable what you're doing. It's really, really good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in any of my services, I will have a link to my online shop in the description box below. There you can find online products that will support you on the journey that you are on. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to be able to see all the upcoming videos that I upload. And also make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload. Thank you for your support and have a great day.